The old human village of Tauben never looked so dull, or so exciting, as it did as I headed south to the village merchant, 100 gold coins secured in my purse and on my way to equip myself as the newest graduate from the local adventurers guild. Approaching the modest construction just 10 minutes to the south, my thoughts centered around how much I actually hated it here amongst the humans, how I was nearly executed for causing an accidental death and how the village guild master rescued me, providing some initial training and advice, and, for reasons still unclear to me, making me a supposed hero amongst the humans who nearly murdered me the night before. It wasn't my first encounter with humanity, of course. Born and raised to the west deep within the forests of Paradix, I learned early and often to never trust the humans, nearly all of them closed-minded and selfish like the guild master had talked about. From what I understood, most humans are now convinced that the Sislan utopia, the last 10 centuries of supposed bliss after the age of damnation, is coming to an end, and that only hard times now lie ahead. For we demi-humans, however, elves, dwarves, and halflings, the utopia only served the humans. Most of us suffered, starved, and died early deaths throughout much of the past 10 centuries. Which was why I decided to give adventuring a try, a profession in which race wasn't such an issue. Over the past year, however, a series of misadventures ultimately landed me here in Tauben, nearly killing me but, apparently, also giving me a second chance. Now, to make the most of it. Soon reaching the merchant's shop, I was surprised by how large and, apparently, old it was. The building appeared to have once been a small castle, its grey stone bleached and crumbling from time and the elements. Paying its physical condition little heed, however, I quickly reached the front door of the large shop and stepped inside. Looking about within the shop entryway, the floor was made of long slats of aged wood and the entryway was large enough to store entire crates of items and supplies. I also noticed a stairway leading down into the darkness to my immediate left. Taking a few steps forward, I soon noticed a nearby painting of an older man hanging on the wall to my right. Studying the painting for a few moments, it appeared pleasant and serene, the man dressed as a professional rogue and his devilish smile making me smile as well. Continuing into the merchant's main storefront, a large warehouse of a building where almost anything commonplace could be purchased and sold, I then approached the merchant, preparing to purchase what I would need as a newly graduated adventuring thief. However, the merchant seemed to be an older, angry, unhappy man, looking me over as if thoroughly judging me without even knowing me. "You there?" the merchant then called, showing his rotting teeth. Are you, human? You better be, I don't serve no stinkin' humanoids here." The racist question was quite unwelcome. Of course, the non-human race is treated with much disrespect these days, and I felt ready to give him a piece of my mind. "Come now, father." A woman's voice from behind called out. "Is that any way to treat a paying customer?" Turning around, standing there was a young human woman dressed almost like an adventuring thief herself. The human looked me over from head to toe and smirked before continuing. "Ah, and an adventurer, we don't get many of your kind. I don't care what race you are, so long as you have coin and are willing to buy." The human thief smirked, then stepped into the large storeroom alongside me, introducing herself. "The name's Rachel. I live here, he's my father. Pay no attention to how he talks. You chased all those damn rats out yet?" The old merchant hollered at his daughter, still quite angry and suspicious. "I hate them things." "Not yet, you snarky old man," Rachel returned, raising her own voice. "I told you, they're a bit much for just a low-level thief like me. I need some help." "Rats?" I asked, rather intrigued. "Yeah, a bunch of normal-sized rats, I think led by a giant mother rat," Rachel answered, holding her hands 4 feet apart to indicate the giant monster's size. "They've been crawling around downstairs for 2 weeks now and we can't get rid of them." The merchant spit out whatever it was he was chewing, the disgusting substance landing in a spittoon on the floor. Rachel paid him little heed, however, as she approached me with an interesting offer. "Say, you're one of those fancy heroes from the guild, aren't you, who goes around taking care of problems like this? What say you help me clear out some vermin down in the basement?" "And what's in it for me?" I asked, not about to do something for nothing. "You'll get nothing and like it," the grumpy old man shouted, almost making me laugh. "There is all kinds of stuff here you can have once the deed is done," Rachel offered, the reward seemingly appropriate. "I am sure the two of us will be more than a match for the vermin down there." As a new hero of Tobin, I had thought my first quest would be a little more glamorous than just taking care of some pests. But the need was real and the ask genuine, and so I agreed, Rachel becoming my very first fellow adventurer. The stairway down is back where you first entered the building, Rachel continued confidently. It's quite dark down there, so we will need a source of light. Make sure you have a few torches before we go. The old merchant continued to watch suspiciously as Rachel pointed toward the northern door, the same one I had just passed through. For the next few minutes, Rachel then helped me buy some needed items and equip myself, including a short sword, a sling, and 10 bullets as ammunition, leather armor, 3 torches and 2 magical potions of healing. I also purchased some thieves' tools, which would help me pick locked objects and doors. Ready to proceed, Rachel smiled as she escorted me out and back to the stairway leading down, retrieving an old key from a hidden pocket. Descending the wooden staircase, the steps worn but solid and secure, we quickly reached a closed and locked door, the entrance to the merchant's cellar. Rachel then quickly unlocked the door and nodded for me to follow her into the darkness. Lighting a torch and looking about, the walls here were a mix of wooden shelving, heaps of bags and a wide diversity of, well, stuff just lying about. It was as if the merchant had been collecting anything of value for a century and the basement looked more like a maze we needed to negotiate. The air was damp and musty, and occasionally we heard the squeak of a rat in the distance, the culling of which had brought us here in the first place. The shop has been in the family for 6 generations now, Rachel finally offered as we began to search the immediate area, finding all kinds of junk but no actual vermin to exterminate. Grandfather, especially, kept everything he could find, barter for or even steal. But none of it was ever worth much. I still wonder what happened to the old coot. Rather surprised by Rachel's last comment, I encouraged her to continue. It sounded like she really missed her grandfather. Grandpa was a bit of a rebel, Rachel continued with a chuckle. He knew the local lands well, did business with some shady characters and certainly pushed the boundaries. He was a sort of hero to all of us. Then, one day a few years ago, he just vanished. We have no idea what happened, where he went or anything. We suspect he was kidnapped by someone he double-crossed some time ago, but who knows? Listening to Rachel, I sensed that she had a much closer relationship to her grandfather than her own father above, seeing her grandfather, and the often rebellious life he lived, as intriguing, perhaps even inspirational. From what little I knew of Rachel, it seemed likely that she chose to become a professional thief to try and make her own grandfather proud. Continuing north, we quickly reached the far northwestern corner of the basement, the walls mostly covered in shelves containing all sorts of junk and themselves old and cracking in several places. The air was wet and musty, and my instinct warned me to not stay too long. The ceiling appeared to be in even worse shape and I noted that it could collapse at any time. However, I also noticed something twinkling on the floor amidst the dust and debris in my artificial light. Damn! Rachel exclaimed, surveying the partially collapsed ceiling. I told that miserable excuse for a father to get this fixed a year ago. Must I do everything around here myself? Recognizing the imminent danger, I then helped Rachel repair the ceiling somewhat, boarding it up enough so it wouldn't at least collapse upon us. Just as we finished, however, I accidentally disturbed what appeared to be a rat's nest, and the little beasties weren't keen of our presence. A few normal-sized rats suddenly appeared from a small nest on the floor, defending their territory with surprising wrath. It was time to earn my keep as a would-be exterminator. My first taste of actual combat in a while, the rats were fairly easy to defeat, both Rachel and I avoiding their bites which potentially carried disease. Taking care of the rats, we then searched their small nest. At first all we found was an old, broken hand mirror that was reflecting my light, a piece of trash that was certainly not worth its recovery. I then found a small bracelet, a bit tarnished but worth perhaps 20 gold pieces to the right buyer, and Rachel slipped the minor treasure into a hidden pocket. Proceeding east, we entered another larger area consisting of many shelves and piles of stuff all lying about. Dominating the floor was a small collection of large, sturdy burlap sacks, nearly 4 feet high and bulging with something inside. Oh, that's only coal for the winter, Rachel commented, looking over the 5 large sacks. We just received it for this upcoming winter. Keep the torch away, the stuff burns easily. Taught to always look for things that can help an adventurer in a challenging situation, I opened one of the sacks and grabbed a smaller piece of coal, thinking that I may need some sustained fire at some point. Rachel smiled and approved, then I stashed the lump of coal in my pack before continuing to follow Rachel eastward. A few minutes later, we reached what was likely the far northeastern corner of the merchant basement, coming across a small cache of weapons, armor, and shields. While certainly no blacksmith, the merchant above had acquired quite the collection of old swords, axes, polearms, and even a few missile weapons over the years, all stockpiled in this area. Most of the items were in very poor repair, however, which is likely why they weren't available for sale in the merchant's showroom above. Searching the stockpile, I soon came across a large, attractive shield, which seemed quite out of place in all the junk, and I wondered why it was here and not for sale above in the merchant's shop. As Rachel continued to sift through all the stuff behind me, I suddenly felt compelled to reach for the shield. "No, Lomtora, don't," Rachel warned, grabbing my wrist at the last moment. "It's cursed. Using the shield will only make it more likely for monsters to hit you. A cursed possession." Quite thankful for the advice, I stepped away from the wretched thing, glad that Rachel had intervened. The weapons cache a bust, the two of us then moved on. Turning to the south within the maze-like basement, we soon found nearly a dozen wooden crates full of carefully wrapped and preserved food, stacked atop one another here and encased in some sort of cloth to better protect them from spoilage. However, a few of the crates had been knocked over and even chewed into, their contents spilled across the floor. Clearly, the merchant above had a significant rat infestation problem. Poking at the fallen crates on the floor, we weren't at all surprised to discover a small group of rats having their way with the foodstuffs within. Quite upset at having been discovered, the rats then leapt at us and attacked. Again avoiding their tiny but potentially disease-ridden bites, Rachel and I soon put all the rats down and we bagged them for disposal. "We make quite the team." Rachel grinned as we worked. "I wish you had come along sooner." The rats dispatched and looking around, we then further examined the foodstuffs, counting 3 crates in total that had been damaged and would need replacement. Recognizing that the foodstuffs could double as free rations, I waited until Rachel wasn't looking before stuffing a few into my own pack, securing the contraband as Rachel led us west, and mumbling something about how angry her father will be. A minute later, we came across dozens of small, iron-reinforced lockboxes, sitting on several shelves against a wall and each requiring a specific key to open. The boxes certainly contained valuables, but I assumed I was equally forbidden to search them. "I think this is where Father keeps his little treasures," Rachel commented, shaking a few of the boxes to ensure they were indeed secure. "I don't even have the keys to open them." Of course, anything that's locked typically means there is something valuable inside. While I could have just walked away, temptation got the better of me and I began to search the boxes, Rachel watching with a combination of respect and intrigue as well. Suddenly, I tugged on yet another lockbox and the mechanism securing the unit broke, falling into pieces on the floor. The box was now free to open. I gave Rachel a look, asking with my eyes whether I should open the box or not. Rachel nodded yes, so I gave the drawer a slow pull. Inside was a small but ornate dagger, its blade gleaming in the dim light, and I withdrew the weapon from the lockbox to better examine it. "I think it's magical," Rachel commented, gazing upon the item with equal intrigue. "Look how the blade shines in the light. I had no idea Father had something like this locked up down here." While the dagger wasn't mine, Rachel nodded and allowed me to secure it in my backpack anyway, my first magical treasure. Deciding to leave the remainder of the lockboxes alone, Rachel then led us southwest, reaching the far corner of the basement a few minutes later. Here, we found several old paintings on the walls and tucked away into the corner, dusty from years of inactivity. Rachel took a casual look around, then confirmed that the images portrayed her immediate family, the young thief showing a slight grin as she looked through the various paintings. The woman then stopped at a painting of an elderly man with a cocky smile, similar to the image I had noticed when I first entered the building above an hour ago. "Grandfather," Rachel whispered with longing and admiration. Stepping alongside Rachel to get a better look, her grandfather appeared tall, handsome, and proud, someone I would expect Rachel to be equally proud of. I also noticed a unique iron chain around his neck, something he apparently treasured greatly. "This was commissioned 5 years before he disappeared," Rachel began. "He was working with some smugglers in the caves north of Tobin. He'd even take me out there with him to work with the men. They were just doing what they needed to feed their families and weren't evil. Recognizing that everyone is entitled to do as they must to survive, I expressed my tolerance of the situation, commenting that I would likely do something similar." Rachel appreciated the comment and continued. "Then the Sislans discovered their antidote and helped shut down the smuggling activities, claiming the caves as their own. Grandfather continued to serve as the town's merchant along with my father, until he disappeared about 2 years ago. It's been just my father and me since. Rachel continued to gaze upon the portrait of her grandfather, then put the painting away and covered it again, the touching moment over. Heading east and reaching all the shelving and supplies lying about near the southeastern corner of the labyrinth-like basement, we soon noticed a disturbed area in the southern wall that appeared to have been broken through and was large enough to even crawl through. That's odd, Rachel began, taking a closer look. I haven't seen that there before. Examining the hole, 2 feet wide and 2 feet tall, we recognized that it was just large enough for something our size to crawl through. Putting our combined thieving skills to good use, we further noticed that the edges had been chewed, not just cut, and the various droppings on the floor confirmed our suspicions. This is how the rats were getting into the cellar. Poking about, it didn't take long for both of us to realize that the wall here was actually a wooden secret door. Rachel felt for the edges around the door, then found a latch that opened the door to reveal what had to be a secret room beyond. Apparently, the rats had found the wooden door from the other side and chewed their way through recently. Passing through the damaged secret door in the northern wall here, we found what was clearly a hidden chamber, just 20 feet to a side and containing the furnishings of a modest recreation room. The area was quite humid, the trickling sounds of water coming from the far southeastern corner of the chamber. Giving the room a thorough search, it didn't take long for us to recognize that we'd found an apparent safe room, otherwise hidden from the rest of the basement and made for hiding out or for extended stays. Among the furniture were foodstuffs, several books, some knuckle bones, for playing games of chance and even some woodworking tools for passing the time away. By the looks of things, someone could hide out down here for weeks at a time if necessary. Of course, it was the corpse sitting at the table that piqued our curiosity and we soon made our way to it. The body dressed in merchant's garb, the corpse was now a skeleton, the flesh all but gone and its hair lying on the floor, the body sitting up straight in front of a simple dinner table as if it had died there. From what we could initially see, there didn't appear to be any means of foul play, which only deepened the mystery. What was noticeable, however, was the unique iron chain lying on the floor alongside the skeleton, and Rachel recognized the body. Grandfather. By the looks of the body, it seemed clear that Rachel's grandfather likely suffered some sort of heart attack while hidden away down here. While certainly poignant, the old man simply died of natural causes, solving the mystery of his disappearance. Holding back tears, Rachel carefully retrieved the iron chain from the floor, holding it to her chest as she relived certain memories of the man inside her head. You found him. Standing behind us was the merchant from above, Rachel's father apparently having followed the two of us down here and now just in time to discover his own father as well. Stunned by the find, the grumpy merchant slowly stepped forward and joined the two of us near the skeleton. I had no idea he built himself a safe room, the merchant began, surprised by it all. He would disappear for days, sometimes weeks, at a time, and nobody knew where he'd go. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Rachel chuckles, a fitting end to her grandfather's wondrous life. He liked his privacy, always wanting to think and scheme. At least we now know nobody got the better of him. Yeah, but what about us? The merchant slowly utters, pointing towards something to the east. Turning to our right, we noticed an underground well in the southeastern corner, a convenient source of water for anyone hiding within the room. However, the area around the well had also been turned into an obvious nest for something large. Indeed, 2 bulbous, reddish eyes stared at us from about 20 feet away, a giant mother rat. The monster was several feet long and possessed teeth that could kill a grown human being. I think you've found the source of the infestation, the merchant whispered, not willing to take another step forward. The two of you need to deal with it now. I looked to Rachel, unsure of what to do next. Recognizing that the giant rat needed to be dispatched before it could escape down the well, Rachel nodded her head to follow, the two of us rushing toward the well and large nest to the east. Reaching the far corner of the chamber, a small brick well stood here, clearly created to draw fresh water from. A nesting area of grasses, plants, and debris surrounded the well, an obvious lair for the giant mother rat that had made the secret room its own. Indeed, the beastie wasn't happy that we'd invaded its territory and we had just moments to react before it attacked. Recalling the block of coal I had grabbed from the basement earlier, I retrieved the brick, set it alight from my torch and hurled it toward the nest. The strike was a direct hit, and within moments the nest was on fire. Too preoccupied with us, the giant rat didn't even realize the immediate danger until the fire was burning it as well, causing the creature to squeal in pain as it lunged forward, its fur partially on fire. As Rachel happened to be closest to the monster, the mother rat attacked her, quickly biting at Rachel with razor-sharp teeth. Parrying the incoming bites, Rachel also managed to slash the creature a few times, allowing me an opportunity to hide in the shadows, a technique we thieves learn to surprise our enemies and backstab from out of the darkness. Suddenly losing her footing, Rachel then tripped and fell to the floor, the monstrous rat leaping atop her and biting with tremendous fury. "It's back to me," I leapt from out of the shadows and drove my short sword deep into the creature, the mother rat squealing horribly before expiring. The monster defeated, I then pushed it over and helped Rachel back to her feet, our first major battle a success. The combat concluded, the merchant approached as we began to bandage our wounds, the old shopkeeper genuinely impressed. "Well, my oh my, you two make a good team," the merchant began, surveying the slain giant mother rat. "I really didn't think you could do it. I told you, father, I am more than ready for the life of an adventurer," Rachel exclaimed, a little angrier than I had expected. "So, what do you want to do with this mess down here?" "I will take care of it all," the merchant replied, kicking the mother rat a few times to make sure it was dead. "I know people who can help me clean things up. But I want to keep this room a secret." Both Rachel and I nodded. The merchant then continued. "Let's also keep your grandfather's death a secret, no one need know of what really happened to him. Better that his legend lives on." Moments later, the merchant turned to me, something clearly on his mind. "While I am appreciative of what you've done here, you also took something that didn't belong to you," the merchant continued, obviously referring to the bejeweled dagger I found earlier in the basement. "Go ahead and keep it, given what you've done here. But it's not something to be proud of." Disregarding her father's comment, Rachel gave me that cocky grin I would come to expect from her now and stepped to me, ready to lead me back upstairs and out into Tob and beyond. "See? I think we do make a good team," Rachel added, apparently ready to stay with me a while longer. "Let's go see what more Tobin has to offer." And that's a wrap of episode number 2, Vermin Extermination. Expect additional episodes every few weeks as the story continues.